Hello, my name is Gerald Jones. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, Theta Gamma, Fall of 81. This Sunday will mark Theta Gamma's 50th year as a charter. And today I'm just going to give you a brief history of those 50 years. It started February 5th, 1972, when 10 black men emerged on the campus of Eastern Illinois University as members of Kappa Alpha Psi. These young men were part of a line entitled Clan of Confusion, which consisted of 7 brothers from Illinois State, 5 brothers from U of I, and the 10 brothers from Eastern, giving a total of 22 brothers. During that time, the brothers from EIU and Illinois State had to travel to U of I in order to get made. They endured a lot. There was no protection from visiting brothers since there was no dean on the yard to control them. And for 3 years, no brothers were made after them. And they were known as Beta Swing. After Clan of Confusion, the next line to come along was Sequestered 5. According to Taylor Cannon, chapter Visible, the name should have been Sequestered 5, since there's no such word as sequestered. Finally, KS Nomad was the last line to come under Beta Swing. Kohlberg, like many Nupes during that time, was a Vietnam vet. According to TG folklore, Kohlberg pledged on and off for over 40 weeks with 2 weeks of hell. That was like the norm back then because the Kappa ship Clan of Confusion was really not interested in making anybody, only pledging. It wasn't until the brothers who transferred in where Nupes started getting serious about getting their own letters. Brothers like Albert Chesler, aka Wolf, and his ship Bob Johnson from Theta, Jerry Oliver, who we call J.O. from Bradley, Herb Williams, who was a basketball player from Oklahoma, and Charles Ty Carter from Eta Kappa, along with some of the KKs that were left and Sequestered 5. Tyke was the catalyst to set things in motion. He was the first pole mark of Theta Gamma. Unfortunately, Tyke died in a boating accident in Lake Charleston. The 70s were the revolutionary era of TG. One story that was told to me is when a black young lady became Miss EIU, but the white campus community would not let that happen, and they selected a white girl. Out of protest, the black football players refused to play in the homecoming game. The outcome led to a cross being burned in front of the Kappa house. Gentry Richardson, aka Priest, was another brother that played an intricate role in the development of our young chapter. He wasn't made on EIU soil. He was made at Alpha Chapter by DePaul, DEPAWL University in 1975. During his tenure at TG, Priest was the JVP of the North Central Province, as well as the chapter's third pole mark. Priest took over after Tommy Daniels, who took over after Tyke's tragic death. On March 6, 1976, Kappa ship Kamikaze became the first line to cross with Theta Gamma on their cards. While they were pledging, charter brother Dennis Sibbett coined the name Treacherous Theta Gamma. After Kamikaze crossed, the name was reaffirmed and feared by scrollers throughout the land. Tanata, T-N-A-A-T-N-A, was like the battle cry. Tanata stands for the Nupes are after the naked ass. The 70s set the foundation for the chapter. Theta Gamma was not only in the national panhellenic, but out of all the black Greeks, they were the only ones involved in the all-white interfraternal council. As the 70 brothers were preparing to graduate and move on to other endeavors, a new era of brothers emerged. Shepherded by Kenny Potts and Ernest Newman from Endangered Species, KS Viet Cong Fall 80 was made. These brothers continued the TG brand. Following VK in the spring of 81 was Kappa Ship Bad Company. This line produced the first TG-made basketball players. That came in handy at Kappa Carnival hoop tournaments. TG won back-to-back carnival tournaments in 82 and 83. And in 83, not only did they win the basketball tournament, but they won the step tournament as well. During the early to mid 80s, the Theta Gamma tradition continued. TG continued to make athletes, predominantly football players. And TG ruled the yard in every aspect of politics, such as Black Student Union President Mosaic Harris from Kappa Ship Bad Company, and the director of the Black House, Keith McKinley, Kappa Ship Vietcong. From the fall of '85 to spring of '90, I kind of like to refer to that era as the AC-Doocy era, meaning that we only made lines of either one or two pledges. As the '80s were coming to an end, the faces have changed, but the story remains the same. KS Sinister 7, fall '90, became the end of the AC-Doocy era. 7 young men came into the fold. This line was followed by 9mm. Now, Theta Gamma was damn near at full capacity. It was a grand time at TG. The Kappa house was on fire and lines continued to get made. In the fall of '98, Kappa Ship Close Call came aboard. This line continued the TG tradition of making athletes consisting of 4 football players. I remember one time Brother Ernest Newman said, "It's nothing like being a Nupe from TG," and he was not lying. Things could not be better. The house was booming. We had just celebrated our 25th year of charter with little or no incidents. The Nupes was running the yard until tragedy struck. In 2001, the chapter was suspended for the first time. Even though we didn't have our charter, we still remained close. Brother Cash Boyd made it his personal mission to keep us together during this trying time. He organized monthly fellowship grits so we could remain positive that someday Theta Gamma would be back on the yard. So from 2002 to 2007, we were off the yard. However, all was not lost. A Nupe from Delta Kappa named Danny Moore sparked interest in the young men that was interested in becoming Nupes. Also, graduate brother Sonny Solomon, Gamma Omega 2001, was very instrumental. So after serving 5-year sentence imposed by IXQ, Theta Gamma was given a reprieve. With Sonny and Marquise Gilmore, KS Constant Confusion, along with other TG Nupes and a host of Nupes throughout the state of Illinois, to help guide a new era emerge. Kappa Ship Treacherous Resurrection came into the fold in spring of 2009. These 6 young men picked up where we left off, continuing the tradition of making athletes with C.Q. Turner, starting DB, and Kirkland Thurman, All-American track star. The remaining Nupes continued their presence on the yard, socially and politically. These brothers even helped secure one of 2 Kappa houses at that time recognized by IXQ. In 2008, KS Premonition of Treachery arrived. Now they had a little muscle to go along with that TG swag. On that line, out of 7, 4 played football. Theta Gamma was peaking. In 2010, Theta Gamma broke from the tradition of only making spring and fall lines and made its first summer line, KS Triptych Collision. A year later, in 2011, TG made its second summer line, KS Cut to Perfection. It was business as usual up until 2017. We were suspended again. This time, it looked doomed. We were off the yard for 7 years instead of 5, and I thought it was a wrap. One brother, Bernardo Miller, KS Solid Connection, Spring '87, as well as Andre Pickens, KS Trio, Spring '09, never lost hope. For several years, they met with former Province Polemark Byron Thornton. Finally, we were approved to come back as far as ISQ. However, we still had to wait an additional 2 years because the university had a moratorium on bringing back Greeks who did not have their charter. However, NAR was determined to bring Theta Gamma back to its full prominence. NAR, along with several Theta Gamma Nupes, met with the powers that be. Finally, in the fall of 2024, ISQ, as well as EIU, was allowed to bring Theta Gamma back. This was an enduring process. First of all, we had to find young men who would be interested in being a Nupe. We first drove down along with a young Nupe from Epsilon Omicron, O'Neill Gates, to participate in an event that allowed clubs and Greeks to promote their wares. O'Neill, being much younger than Nard and myself, he was able to connect better. He ended up recruiting about 12 young men, in which 8 eventually became Nupes. After that, it was on to the interviews. About 19 young men showed up. The problem was only 4 had grades, and out of the 4, 3 had the money. So in the fall of 2024, these 3 young men eventually became Kappa ship reincarnation. And after 7 long years, Theta Gamma was officially back on the yard. Following KSR in the spring of 2025 came Kappa ship 6 psychotic souls. This line was the 50th line made at Theta Gamma on its 50th year. These 9 young men embodied all the traits of that TG swag and are prepared to pick up where we left off. Some Theta Gamma notables: Kenny Young, Spring 90, KS Commotion, screenwriter, actor in movies and film, writer, and director. Blake Morris, Summer 2010, KS Triptych Collision, TV, film, stage actor. Willie Cochran, Spring 75, KS Requested 5, Alderman of the 20 Award. Chris Campbell, Spring 09, KS KOA, Chronicles of Annihilation, Super Bowl champ with the Green Bay Packers. Ricky Robinson, Spring 81, KS Bad Company, EIU All-American, professional basketball player overseas. And Kevin Collins, KS 9mm, JVP of the North Central Province from 93 to 94. Thank you.